Most people don't look broken from the outside. They wake up, get dressed, answer messages, carry responsibilities, and keep moving. Yet beneath that calm surface, there is a quiet weight pressing down every day. It's the weight of expectations, unspoken worries, unfinished battles, and thoughts that never seem to rest. You can function, even perform, while carrying this pressure. But it shapes you. Invisible burdens leave invisible marks on the soul, slowly teaching you how to brace instead of breathe. Over time, living this way becomes exhausting. When every day is spent reacting, something inside begins to thin out. Stress decides your tone, fear decides your timing, doubt quietly lowers your standards. You're no longer choosing your life as much as you're managing it. Peace feels distant, not because you don't want it, but because your inner authority has been chipped away by constant urgency. And yet, beneath that fatigue, there is a deeper longing, a desire not to escape life, but to meet it with steadiness, to become someone others can rely on, and someone you can trust yourself. There is a quiet hunger for order inside the chaos, for grounding in the middle of uncertainty. The human spirit was never meant to live permanently on edge. It yearns for rhythm, for alignment, for the confidence that it can endure whatever comes without collapsing inward. Many people believe toughness is something you're born with, a personality trait reserved for the fearless, the hardened, the naturally strong. If you weren't wired that way, you assume you must simply cope as best you can. But this belief is a heavy one. It turns struggle into shame and effort into frustration. Strength is not a gift handed out at birth. It is a virtue shaped slowly, through intention, through practice, through repeated choices made when no one is watching. Mental toughness does not arrive through force or bravado. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It grows quietly, like roots forming underground before a tree ever rises. Formation happens in ordinary days, in small alignments, in the decision to respond with care instead of impulse. Over time, these moments stack. What begins as effort becomes stability. What feels fragile becomes reliable. This is how inner strength is built, not through dramatic change, but through faithful consistency. This journey does not ask you to become someone else. It invites you to become more whole, to learn how to carry pressure without letting it harden you, how to face difficulty without losing tenderness, how to remain steady without becoming rigid. There is a way to train the mind and spirit toward calm resilience, and it has been walked before by those who understood that true power is formed inwardly. This understanding opens a gentle door, not toward perfection, but toward patience, not toward dominance, but toward quiet confidence. When you realize that strength can be cultivated, the pressure shifts. You stop judging yourself for struggling and start seeing struggle as material for growth. Faith begins to replace fear, not because life becomes easier, but because you are no longer facing it without structure or hope. The soul softens as discipline gives it something to lean on. Stay with me. Many people grow up believing that strength must be loud to be real, that toughness shows itself through force, dominance, or visible intensity. This belief quietly trains us to perform strength rather than embody it. We learn to clench, to push, to harden ourselves against the world. Yet this kind of aggression is often a mask for fear, not a sign of mastery. Real power does not rush to prove itself. It knows when to hold back. Restraint, guided by wisdom, is not weakness. It is the mark of someone who understands the weight of their own actions. When toughness is redefined this way, something inside begins to soften. The nervous system no longer feels the need to stay on constant alert. You realize that you don't have to dominate every moment to survive it. Steadiness becomes the new goal. Inner order replaces inner noise. Strength starts to feel less like a battle and more like a grounded presence. This kind of calm is not passive. It is active peace chosen again and again, even when pressure presses close. Over time, admiration begins to shift. Intensity loses its shine. What once looked impressive now feels unstable. Composure, on the other hand, reveals depth. There is something quietly powerful about a person who remains centered while circumstances grow chaotic. Maturity shows itself here, not in emotional explosions or rigid control, but in the ability to stay present without being overwhelmed. Peace under pressure is not avoidance. It is evidence of inner formation, of a spirit trained to remain intact. True toughness also carries humility. It does not need to win every moment or defend every opinion. It listens before it moves. It waits before it reacts. This restraint creates space for discernment, allowing wisdom to guide response instead of ego. In that space, clarity grows. Actions become measured. Strength expresses itself through consistency rather than spectacle, through quiet faithfulness rather than force. This is where a higher standard of strength emerges. Toughness is no longer about how much you can endure outwardly, but how faithfully you live inwardly. It becomes alignment. What you value, how you act, and how you carry yourself begin to match. Inner calm supports outer decisions. Integrity replaces impulse. This kind of toughness does not fracture the soul. It unifies it. It allows you to move through difficulty without losing yourself in the process. As this understanding settles in, it prepares the ground for the next challenge, learning how to face the daily inner struggle with intention rather than instinct. This quiet strength becomes the foundation for deeper discipline, where inner battles are met deliberately, patiently, and with practiced awareness. There is a battle that takes place long before the day ever touches you, before conversations, before decisions, before the world makes its demands. It happens quietly, inside the mind and heart. Thoughts collide, emotions rise, old fears whisper familiar warnings. This inner conflict often goes unseen, yet it shapes everything that follows. The first fight is never with circumstances. It is with interpretation, with meaning, with what you allow to take hold within. When you understand this, the chaos becomes smaller. You stop trying to control the entire day and begin to focus on what is actually within reach. Your attention turns inward, not in isolation, but in stewardship. Attention is sacred. What you dwell on determines your posture toward life. When scattered, the spirit slouches. When directed, it stands upright. Choosing where your focus rests is an act of quiet faith. Between impulse and response, there is a narrow space. It is brief, almost fragile, but it holds enormous power. In that pause, you are no longer owned by instinct. You are invited to choose. Breath slows the body. Awareness steadies the mind. In that moment, freedom appears, not as escape, but as authorship over your next step. Learning to govern this space builds trust with yourself. Each time you respond rather than react, something settles inside. The heart learns it does not have to be dragged by every emotion. Mastery is born here, not in perfection, but in consistency. When reaction no longer rules, the soul regains its voice and calm leadership replaces inner noise. It is important to remember that this struggle is daily. Resistance does not disappear once conquered. It returns in quieter forms, testing patience, resolve, and faith. This is not failure. This is training. Each small inner victory strengthens endurance. Each moment you stay present instead of fleeing builds resilience that does not fade when conditions change. Some days the victory is barely noticeable. No surge of confidence, no visible reward. Just the quiet decision to stay when the mind wants to escape, to answer gently when irritation rises, to remain upright in unseen ways. These moments rarely feel heroic, yet they accumulate like slow footsteps across time. Faith grows here, in repetition without applause. Persistence teaches the soul that strength is not dramatic, it is dependable. And over many ordinary mornings and tired evenings, this trust becomes a shelter you can return to. It is in accepting this rhythm that pressure loosens its grip. You stop demanding constant proof of progress. You learn to honor effort itself. The inner battlefield becomes familiar territory, no longer frightening, but formative, shaping patience, humility, and a steadiness that can be trusted. This quiet acceptance prepares the heart for deeper commitment and lasting discipline ahead within you. Winning this first fight does not make life effortless, but it makes it honest. You begin the day aligned rather than scattered, grounded rather than rushed. From this inner order, a deeper discipline becomes possible, one that no longer negotiates with mood but prepares you for faithful practice. There comes a moment when you realize feelings are unreliable guides. Some days they lift you. Other days they abandon you without warning. If your life is built on how motivated you feel, it will always feel unstable. This is where discipline enters as mercy, not punishment. Faithfulness outweighs emotion in the shaping of character. It carries you when enthusiasm disappears and teaches the soul that commitment does not require permission from mood. Discipline, when understood rightly, is not harshness toward yourself. It is self-respect made visible. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, something sacred is affirmed. You are honoring your calling, even when no one else sees it. Consistency becomes a quiet declaration that your life has direction. It says that your values matter more than convenience, and that your future is worthy of steady care. There will be seasons when motivation thins out, the mornings feel heavy, the inner voice grows quiet or doubtful. In these moments, resolve must stand where emotion cannot. Commitment sustains growth when feeling fades. It does not rush, it does not dramatize, simply remains. This steadiness is not cold. It is compassionate strength, carrying you forward without asking you to feel inspired first. Progress deepens when it is grounded in repetition. The same small actions, performed again and again, begin to shape something enduring. Daily practice becomes a form of devotion, a way of saying that growth is worth showing up for today, not just someday. In the quiet rooms of routine, the soul learns rhythm. In the slow footsteps of habit, clarity takes root. This way of living requires patience. Transformation rarely announces itself. It unfolds gradually, often unnoticed, through obedience to process. There is grace in slow growth. It allows lessons to settle deeply rather than pass through quickly. When you accept this pace, frustration loosens. You stop demanding immediate change and start trusting the shaping work happening beneath the surface. Over time, a new confidence forms. Not loud, not fragile, but steady. You begin to trust your own reliability. You know that when things become difficult, you will still show up. Integrity is forged here, in repeated follow-through, not in occasional intensity. Each act of discipline becomes a brick laid carefully, forming a foundation you can stand on when pressure rises. This kind of trust changes how you move through the world. You are less dependent on circumstance, less swayed by inner weather. You carry yourself with quiet assurance, knowing your actions are anchored beyond emotion. Discipline stops feeling restrictive and begins to feel freeing. It holds you when feeling cannot, and guides you when clarity seems distant. As this steadiness grows, it prepares you for a deeper awareness of how your choices echo forward, inviting you to consider not just what feels right now, but what truly serves the life you are becoming. There is a quiet kind of wisdom that looks past the relief of the moment and asks what a choice will cost tomorrow. Much of life's regret is born not from cruelty, but from comfort chosen too quickly. Immediate ease can feel kind, even necessary, yet it often trades away something deeper. Strategic thinking begins when you allow yourself to see beyond what soothes you now and consider what strengthens you later. Wisdom carries patience. It understands that comfort is temporary, but consequence lingers. This way of seeing interrupts impulse. Instead of moving automatically, you learn to pause and discern. Discernment is not suspicion or fear. It is care for the person you are becoming. When you slow down long enough to ask where a decision leads, you protect your future self from unnecessary damage. You begin to sense that not every option deserves your agreement, and not every desire deserves obedience. This pause becomes an act of love toward the life entrusted to you. Responsibility rises here, gently but firmly. It asks you to consider stewardship rather than convenience. Your life is not something to be spent thoughtlessly. It is something to be tended. Strategic thinking accepts that some paths require patience and some pleasures must be delayed. This is not deprivation, it is foresight. It is choosing alignment over ease and direction over drift. Responsibility, when rooted in care, does not feel heavy, it feels clarifying. As this clarity grows, intentional living becomes possible. You stop moving through days on habit alone and begin to act with awareness. Every choice, no matter how small, participates in shaping identity. What you repeat becomes what you believe about yourself. What you tolerate becomes what you normalize. Strategic thinking brings consciousness to these patterns. It reminds you that direction is not chosen once, but reaffirmed daily through action. With intention comes reverence. Time and energy are no longer treated as endless. They are recognized as sacred resources, limited and meaningful. You begin to guard them more carefully, not out of fear, but respect. Where you invest your attention determines what grows. Where you waste it determines what withers. Strategic thinking honors this truth and refuses to spend life carelessly. This reverence softens the way you move. You become less rushed, less scattered. Decisions feel steadier because they are anchored in purpose rather than pressure. You no longer need to justify every choice to others, because you understand why you are choosing it. There is peace in this kind of alignment, a sense of standing on solid ground even when outcomes are uncertain. Over time, this practice reshapes your relationship with the future. It no longer feels like a threat you must outrun, but a responsibility you are preparing for with quiet diligence. Strategic thinking does not make life predictable, but it makes it honest. It teaches you to act today in ways that will not betray who you hope to be tomorrow. As this foresight settles in, it opens the door to a deeper sensitivity, one that learns to read situations clearly and adapt without losing inner balance. Strength is often mistaken for rigidity. We think being strong means holding the same position no matter what shifts around us. But rigidity fractures under pressure. Calm flexibility, on the other hand, allows growth without collapse. Humility makes this possible. When you accept that seasons change, that conditions evolve, you stop resisting reality and start learning from it. Adaptability is not surrender. It is wisdom that bends without breaking. Uncertainty tests presence. When the future feels unclear, the mind wants control. It searches for guarantees, for firm ground, for answers it cannot yet have. But clarity does not come from forcing certainty. It rises from attentiveness. When you stay present, you notice what is actually happening instead of what you fear might happen. Awareness anchors you in what is real, allowing calm to replace speculation. As this presence deepens, fear of change begins to loosen. Change no longer feels like a threat to stability, but a movement within it. Adaptability reflects trust, not instability. It trusts that you can respond wisely as circumstances unfold. It trusts that you are not required to predict everything in order to remain grounded. This trust softens the heart and keeps it open rather than defensive. Awareness grows through listening, not only to others, but to your own interior signals. Stillness sharpens perception. In quiet moments, clarity has space to surface. You begin to notice subtle shifts in emotion, energy, and direction. This attentiveness builds confidence, not arrogance. You learn to rely on discernment shaped by reflection rather than reaction shaped by noise. With this confidence comes balance. Firmness without openness becomes stubbornness. Openness without firmness becomes confusion. Resilience lives in alignment between the two. You hold your values steadily while allowing your methods to adjust. You remain rooted while staying responsive. This balance keeps the soul from hardening and the mind from scattering. As life moves and changes, this posture allows you to move with it, not against it. You no longer waste strength resisting what must be faced. Instead, you meet it with clarity and grace. Awareness guides your steps. Adaptability keeps you steady. Together, they form a quiet strength that remains intact even when plans shift and expectations dissolve. This way of being creates inner space. Space to breathe. Space to respond thoughtfully. Space to trust that you do not need to control every outcome to remain faithful to your path. In this space, fear loses its urgency. Decisions slow down. The body relaxes. The heart listens more closely. Over time, you begin to recognize change not as disruption, but as invitation. An invitation to refine understanding, to deepen patience, to practice humility. Each shift becomes a teacher rather than an enemy. You learn to stay clear when conditions blur, grounded when direction feels uncertain. From this clarity, life feels less like something happening to you and more like something you are walking through deliberately. This awareness prepares you for the final step, where principles become lived rhythm and daily practice turns adaptability into enduring character. Ideas remain fragile until they are lived. What you believe does not shape you until it moves through your hands, your time, and your choices. Truth asks to be practiced. When principles remain abstract, they inspire briefly and fade. When they are embodied, they settle into the body and become character. This is where mental toughness stops being a concept and begins to feel real, grounded, and personal. A daily system offers structure without pressure. It does not demand perfection or intensity. It offers rhythm, like morning light returning to the same window. Rhythm anchors the soul amid chaos. When days feel unpredictable, simple structure creates safety. You are no longer deciding everything from scratch. You are stepping into a pattern that supports steadiness rather than draining it. Intentionality grows through small, faithful acts. You do not need dramatic changes to reshape your life. You need alignment practiced daily. Each intentional choice, however modest, becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, these small acts gather weight. Identity is quietly rewritten through consistency, not force. What you repeat with care becomes who you are. Reflection is what keeps this system alive. Not harsh self-judgment, but honest noticing. At the end of the day, you turn inward with curiosity rather than accusation. What did I learn? Where did I drift? Where did I remain steady? This kind of self-examination is sacred. It restores awareness without shame and invites growth without condemnation. Continuity forms when days are connected by intention. One faithful day leads naturally into the next. Character is not built in moments of inspiration, but through accumulated obedience. Each day you return to the practice. You reinforce trust with yourself. You prove that you can be relied upon. Even when energy is low or clarity feels distant, a system makes toughness humane. It carries you on days when resolve weakens and motivation goes quiet. Instead of forcing yourself forward, you are guided forward. Habit becomes a form of care. Rhythm replaces pressure. In this way, strength becomes accessible rather than intimidating. You are no longer asking yourself to be extraordinary, only to be faithful. Over time, embodiment changes how you experience effort. What once felt heavy becomes familiar. What felt difficult becomes normal. The system holds you steady when emotions fluctuate and circumstances shift. It creates a sense of continuity that outlasts mood. From this lived steadiness, the journey naturally turns toward reflection and closure, where all that has been practiced begins to settle into quiet confidence. There is a quiet relief in realizing you do not have to become extraordinary to become strong. Strength is not built through force or constant self-pressure, but through faithfulness repeated over time. When you release the demand to impress or outperform, the soul exhales. What remains is something gentler and far more durable. You are not fixed by temperament or limited by how you began. Growth is not reserved for a certain type of person. The soul is shaped by practice, not personality. Each time you choose steadiness over reaction, patience over impulse, you participate in your own becoming, quietly and faithfully. There is power in calm consistency that the world often overlooks. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the steady kind that endures pressure without losing alignment. This steadiness reflects inner order. It is the strength of someone who knows where they stand, even when the ground feels uncertain. You have already proven more capable than you realize. Every day you carry weight, make choices, and continue forward. This capacity did not appear by accident. It was trained through repetition, Faith grows when you notice this truth and allow yourself to trust the strength you are forming. Transformation does not require a dramatic vow or a complete reinvention. It begins with one grounded commitment, one faithful step taken today. When you choose a single practice and return to it, you step onto a path that shapes you slowly, steadily, and with care. There is dignity in this way of living. No rush, no harsh self-judgment, no endless striving. Mental toughness grows as a companion, not a weapon. It walks with you through ordinary days, reminding you that strength is something you live into, not something you prove. As days pass, this path reshapes how you see yourself. You become less concerned with sudden breakthroughs and more devoted to faithful movement. Confidence becomes quieter. Peace becomes deeper. What you are building cannot be taken from you because it is formed from within. Remember, this is not a finish line. It is a daily walk. Some days will feel steady, others uncertain. What matters is that you return. Each return strengthens trust. Each step reinforces alignment. This is how mental toughness becomes a lived reality. Even when you stumble, this path does not reject you. It simply invites you back. There is grace in returning, grace in beginning again without shame. Each renewed attempt strengthens the muscles of trust and perseverance. Over time, these returns become instinctive. You stop measuring progress by emotion and start recognizing it through steadiness. The heart learns it is safe to keep going. This assurance does not come from force, but from repeated mercy applied to daily effort. It forms a quiet covenant between who you are and who you are becoming, held by patience, humility, and faithful repetition across ordinary days without spectacle or applause, just quiet continuity within. If this journey spoke to something in you, take a quiet moment and commit to one faithful practice today and begin walking this path with steady resolve.